So you have this presentation coming up, be it virtually or physically. There's going to be a lot of people there, and just thinking about it, you're already feeling anxious, you're worried, you're afraid. You have these questions in your mind like, what if I forget what I want to say? What if they don't listen to me? What if they leave confused and they are not able to understand what I share? What if? Breathe. Like, take a deep breath. Let's talk about it. In today's video, I want to talk about anxiety, presentation anxiety. And I know some people will just be hearing that, be like, what's that? Well, I honestly did not know that it was a word, because at the time where I was drafting or like coming up with YouTube ideas, video ideas on my way to work, I just had this thought. I was like, I want to talk about the fear of presenting, and that feeling, that anxious feeling you feel in your tummy, basically, either when you are actually presenting or when you're just by thinking about it, that, oh, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Friday, I'm going to present in front of everybody, or I'm going to represent my team. So I was like, you know what, is anxiety presentation anxiety, is that a word? And I checked Google, and apparently it's actually a word. So what's presentation anxiety? Presentation anxiety is simply the fear of presenting. That's it. Were you expecting something more? Sorry, I am literally hyping myself up to do this video at 10:08. Stay with me, guys. You see, one thing we must come to terms with as product managers is that communication is a major part of what we do in our day-to-day. And there are different sides to communication. I mean, there is verbal communication, written communication, and different sides basically. And depending on your level, right, in your career, in your journey, this whole communication conversation would come up in different forms. So it could be just you updating the team via Slack or via email, or documenting product requirements, A/B test, things like that, or even representing the team, right, presenting the initiatives that you've worked on in the past quarter or in the past year. And so today's video is focused on the presentation part of communication and what you can start doing to help you best prepare and tackle presentation anxiety. Okay, so first on my list is start with your audience in mind. You see, for a role that is quite obsessed with all things target audience, customers and users, it's very funny how we sometimes or oftentimes fail to apply same principles to our everyday life. So start with your audience in mind. I'm so intentional about presentations, and you always see it in like how I curate the slides, be it from a design perspective or like a storytelling perspective, or just like information architecture perspective, ensuring that everything flows in. But before we go into that, when I say start with your audience in mind, you want to understand the people that you are going to present to, or you're going to share this information with, be it virtually or physically. Why? Because in practice, the way you would communicate, with an engineer or share something with an engineer will be different from the way you will share something, with someone from legal or marketing. You need to understand that not everyone understands things or certain contexts on the same level using the same terminology. So you wouldn't want to go and speak to the business teams about your team's initiatives using too many technical terminologies that will make you lose them at the start of the presentation, even before the presentation actually starts. Like, they're already exhausted. So you want to understand, who would I be speaking to, right? What's their role within the organization, and how what's their interest, why are they there, what are those questions. You don't have to have all the answers, but I like to just imagine. I love using my imagination so much. I like to just imagine and visualize these people on the call or sitting in front of me. I'm like, okay, if they come to this slide, what are those possible questions? What are those questions that they will possibly have and will want to ask? And with that, I'll be able to like curate the slides in such a way that it answers their questions even before they think about it. And even though they ask questions, like it's not going to be as severe. The word is not severe, but I'll be best prepared for it, because sometimes there's some things you want to avoid by just taking some things out of your slide so you don't have issues, and we'll get to that. But start with your audience in mind. What's their role? Who are they? Questions that they will have in their head, in their mind, right? What are they looking to get out of that meeting? How relevant is that the information that they will get from that presentation? How relevant is it to their job, right? Is it something that you want to present to a group of stakeholders to get buy-in? The way you will present or curate your slides to get buy-in from leadership will be different from the way you would curate your slides, right? To just inform the team or the wider team of the updates, the things that your team has been working on, the next steps. I don't know if this is making sense. So it's very important that you take note of that, because that will influence the choice of words. It will also influence the way you present, your energy level in that room. Based on this, you'll be able to create a rough template to work with. Next on my list is prepare. Now, this has to be my favorite part, because it's a lot of emotions at the same time, very nerve-wracking. At the same time, I get to be excited about the experience that I get to curate for these people that would be listening to me, basically. So you want to invest in adequate preparation. And what would that mean in practice? Number one, have an objective. Now, this is depending on if you are the one taking the lead on the entire presentation. So I am aware that sometimes companies, they have this different kinds of meetings or presentations where you're not necessarily the one curating the slides, in terms of as in the general slide. There will most likely be like an MC or somebody that follows up on every other person that's expected to present, including you, right? So you have like a slot in the slide. So it's fine if you don't have an objective written down on the slide. If the slide or the presentation, whatever, comes with an objective, let's say there's going to be like a product demo where you get to share what your team has been working on, and you're not the one leading on that, putting everything together. Someone else is leading on that and you're just representing your team. I want to believe that they have an objective for the entire meeting, and they have actually, or they will share that with you, even though they don't share it with every other person, because I want to assume someone will start the meeting and kick off the meeting. I want you to intentionally, at the back of your mind, for your own presentation, be it if you're the one leading or you're just representing and you just have a slot, have an objective. What do you want people to take out of this? Still back to connecting with the people you're going to be speaking to, right? Who are they? What are their, thoughts? What are their questions? What are their roles? And based on that, you'll be able to curate your presentation, or you're able to create your objective. Basically, the next thing I want you to understand under preparation is start with the end in mind. See, I don't know that it's just me, but I'm that intentional. When I'm visualizing, I'm like, okay, what experience, right, do I want them to have? Be it on an energy level, be it on an insight level. Probably I want to put relevant, that will help me put relevant data on the slide, that they've, in such a way that they've not seen it in that light before or from that angle before. So you want to think about these things clearly, right? Start with the end in mind. Preparation also would mean you, if you need to, and this, I started doing this, like I've been doing this for a while. I'm getting better, like it's reducing by the day. But if you need to, write down what you want to, or what you're going to say for each slide, please do that. And to help reduce the tension or reduce the anxiety, probably you want to write the way you would speak. So I'm not saying you should just go and write like a robot and you're like, everyone, welcome to the meeting. Write the way you're going to talk. Put those, if you're thinking of inserting like a very cute joke there, I don't know if jokes they are cute, miracle, but a very nice, something to make people giggle or laugh, put it there so you don't forget. It doesn't make the presentation less professional, especially when it's virtual and you can just always have your notes there and you'll be professional about it. But it's basically you sharpening your skills. See it as a growth opportunity. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time, but you need to make sure you're putting the right structures in place to aid you. And one structure I found to help me so much, I've found to be very helpful for me, is writing what I want to say ahead of time. Now I've gotten to a point where I don't have to write them word for word. I mean, you have speaker notes on every, I think, presentation or slide tool, from Canva to Google Slides, PowerPoint. You have speaker notes for a reason. So make good use of it. It just helps you ease the tension. I'm not saying you have to look at it every second, but it just helps you for times where it feels like the butterflies in your tummy, they are rising up to your neck. There's something there for you to fall back on, just in case you're a bit overwhelmed by the crowd, or like, again, back to the anxious thinking and everything. Right? The next under preparation would mean, I want you to, as a product manager, I want you to invest heavily in storytelling. Sharpen your storytelling skills. I think that's one thing I love about being a PM, is the fact that I get to paint a beautiful picture for people and get them to buy into it. You're not lying, you're just leveraging their imagination as a tool to show them what's possible, right? And you can also do that with presenting, especially for presentations where you need to get buy-in from leadership. You want to really heavily invest storytelling, paint a picture of the future, show them how what you are doing now connects to that future, and how, where you would need them to come in to make that future or make that present a reality is very important. Storytelling could also mean you being intentional about connecting your slides. See, this one is very important. Every slide should potentially, I don't know if the word is potentially, but you should be intentional about ensuring that there's a nice flow to it. You don't want to leave your audience confused. So you're done with slide A, and slide A probably, and I mean, you can try to break it down into sections. There's a whole lot of conversation there, but just make sure that your presentation, it slides smoothly into each other. So when you talk about the introduction, like, okay, this is why we're here. Speaking of why we are here, let's kick off with this, right? And after that one, like, okay, now we are done with that. These are the next steps, basically. Please invest heavily, sharpen your storytelling skill. It's something that I'm very intentional about, and every day I always find ways to make my presentation better, from storytelling to energy level, because I found that to be very effective as well. So preparation also means you deciding, the level, your energy level, basically, that you want to bring to that presentation that will get people pumped up. It's a situation, especially if you're putting a meeting or you're presenting on a Friday afternoon or Friday, basically, where people, their mind is already set on the weekend. You want to bring them back and you want to get them excited. So prepare, very important. Next on my list is practice. Depending on how important the presentation is or how anxious you feel, you might want to do some sort of like a mock presentation with someone you trust to kind of like ease the tension. It doesn't make you any less professional. I think I'm of the opinion that sometimes in your career, a little vulnerability will not do you any harm. Like reaching out to someone, especially if you've identified someone within the company that is really good at this. I remember when I was working in Spotify, there was a particular person that I loved so much. First of all, it's part of his his career. He's I think he's in charge of, or he was in charge of like PR and stuff. So he's already used to public speaking, communication, what business wide kind of updates, and also from slide deck before the presentation to after actually presenting. I always reached out to him. So you want to find someone that you trust, and just someone that probably you've seen do this once or twice, and you just want to lean into, tap into their expertise by them giving you real-time feedback for you to prep some more before the actual presentation. Another thing under practice, I feel like I've already mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but I want you to picture yourself already in that room, already on the call. What do you want your audience's response to be? Right? What at every single point. It might sound very like not practical, but this helps a lot. It helps you a whole lot. What do you want their response to be? How do you want them to react? Where do you want them to laugh? Where do you want them to, really think deeply about what you're saying? What kind of emotions you want to evoke? So why I put this under practice, because as you begin to picture that, I want you to start practicing as if you're like, start presenting. You're not in the room yet, the meeting has not started yet, the day has not arrived or has not come yet, but in your imagination you're already there, and so you're already doing all your hand gestures, you're already talking as if you're in that room, and it does something to your confidence level, right? It kind of trains your brain as well. So picture it. And also, please, you're not competing for grammar. I feel like the only thing that's really stressed me, or the only thing that stresses me out when it comes to public speaking, is the whole grammar. I'm not saying you should not be eloquent in your speech and all, but don't prioritize grammar, eloquence over comprehension. If you go and use a word that people are, they don't know about it, or they will have to pick up their phone and Google before they're able to understand what you're sharing, that's an error. That's a big problem. So you want to use words when speaking, even on your slides, that you can remember and people can understand when they hear you share those words. Very, very important. And last but not the least, and this is always my favorite, is progress over perfection. What did I say?
Progress over perfection.
You need to understand that it's a growth process. And one thing I'm learning in my journey is time is a major factor when it comes to these things. You cannot, flip your fingers like this and expect you to move from A to Z in a second. No. Constant and consistent practice times time, right, equals progress. So for every time you get to present, you see it as an opportunity for progress, an opportunity to grow in your presentation skills, in your public speaking skills. This is very crucial. 1% improvement every time, showing up better. And in order for you to really cultivate the progress over perfection mindset, again, back to my fave as well, feedback, right? There's this thing I usually do after every presentation. One or two things actually happen. Either, after every presentation, I'll have people come into my DMs. Oh, that presentation was great. That was amazing. The energy was high. Or if I don't get the constructive feedback that I'm looking for, apart from the positive feedback, which I really appreciate and also helps me as well when I'm understanding what I need to work on, I have a way of intentionally reaching out to specific people that I trust their views and opinions when it comes to my skills and all, to just get feedback from them and see how I can improve, the next time I'm called upon to present. So it's important for you to get to a point in your journey where you embrace imperfection and learn from every presentation experience. Again, practice makes progress, not perfection. It's a process. and it's important that you stay committed to it to see tangible growth. We've covered some of the tips or strategies, if you want to call it that, on how to tackle presentation anxiety. How do we make it more practical so that you're able to practice and become even more effective when it comes to presenting? First and foremost, I want you to remember that the goal is not to eliminate the anxiety altogether. Rather, the goal is to channel that feeling, convert it into positive energy that will feed into your presentation to create a unique experience and enhance your performance. Start by picking one or two techniques from today's video that resonates with you and practice them consistently. As you become comfortable, feel free to add additional strategies to your routine. Anyway, we've come to the end of today's video and I hope you found this helpful. If you find this video helpful, you probably want to check out my previous video where I addressed the common guy on the block, which is imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is not something that you get rid of, but it is something that you can respond to. And how do you respond to it in such a way that it does not hold you back and you're still able to achieve your dreams and all that you set out to do? I would suggest you check this video out, and don't forget, if you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so. It really encourages me to show up even more and show up better for you on here. So please subscribe, like this video so that I can reach more people, share with a friend or two, and say hi in the comment section. Let me know what stood out for you and what action you'll be taking from this video going forward. Till next time, bye.